All right, Vincent, well, this seems to be the question. Will these two be able to get along on the court to get this team into title contention candidacy, if you will? What do you think about what you've seen so far this season?
I think they're going to get along because they're both invested in each other. They're both friends. They both have a genuine relationship. I don't think it's going to matter, though. I think as long as the Lakers and Clippers are healthy and playing the type of basketball that we think they're capable of playing, that's the ceiling of the Western Conference. I think Houston, sometimes we just have teams that miss their time. Whether it's from a talent standpoint or a timing standpoint. I think their best chance was last year when Kevin Durant got hurt after game 5?
Yeah.
In Golden State. We weren't sure exactly how severe the injury was. They lost that game when that game was tied. They lost game 6 at home, and I think that closed the door. Sometimes these windows are very finite, and I don't consider the Rockets being a team. And I know you're a member of Rockets Hive, so I know, you know, you're LeBron Hive first and foremost. There we go.
Wow.
But I don't see them being one of the 4 teams, because I think there's only maybe 4 or 5 legitimate teams every year that can win a title. I don't see Houston being one of those 4 teams.
So here's why I disagree with the end. The beginning, by the way, you could argue the Rockets missed their window the last 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Up 3-2.
Closeout game.
Yeah.
They shot, what, 5 of 44 from 3?
Missed 27 straight threes.
And I mean, the 1 seed, that was the 1 year since D'Antoni's been there. They've had an excellent defense to go along with the offense. Chris Paul pops his hammy, and, you know, the Warriors go on to repeat when that Rockets team all year long was the team that I think everyone thought could give the Warriors the most trouble. We knew the Cavs with LeBron and Jeff Green were not going to be able to contend with them in those NBA Finals. Then last year, they get the KD injury. Here's why I think the Rockets are going to be in position to do better than they did last year. I still think they're going to be the 1 seed in the West. I think this is a team that is going to have an unstoppable offense. Now, the offense right now is 5th in basketball, and that's with Harden shooting a horrific rate from 3. He's still getting his 36 a night because evidently that's the new normal for James Harden, but he's doing it thanks to getting 16 free throws, up from 11 per game last year, and that because his 3 is simply not falling. They're officiating him a little bit differently. It seems to have affected him somewhat, so he's got to get his offense going. I think, and I'd say offense going, he's averaging 36, but his efficiency going. I think Westbrook has been extraordinary. I think Westbrook, we said, how are they going to change? Well, Harden didn't change at all. Russ has adjusted to him, and Russ has filled in some of the blanks. I think Russ is such an upgrade over Chris Paul that you're going to see that throughout the course of the regular season. Now, I don't think they're as good as the Lakers. Everyone in the world, except for me, it would seem, is assigning the Clippers a level of greatness that I'm not comfortable with yet. Like you said, we got to see what we think the Clippers' ceiling is. We haven't seen the Clippers play a game with Paul George yet. We've seen them lose a couple games without him, but we haven't seen them play a game with Paul George yet. I think the Rockets can be the 1 seed. I think they can get to the Western Conference Finals. I don't think they have a matchup for LeBron and Anthony Davis, and I don't think they will have a defense that is good enough to win 4 consecutive rounds in the postseason, which is what they would have to do. But I think right now, to not have them in the conversation, Milwaukee, Philly, Lakers, Rockets, Clippers, if you want those to be the 5, I'm fine with it. But to cross the Rockets out and not have them amongst those other 4, to me, is unfair to what having the best backcourt in basketball by a wide margin, the value that provides.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think the Rockets are a true title contender, but I agree with you. In the Western Conference, they'll be a top 3 or 4 seed just based on how they play. They rely on the analytics. They play with pace. I think they're 2nd in the NBA in pace right now.
Which is a change.
And they're 3rd in forced turnovers. So, I mean, this team is going to get up and down the court. And to your earlier point about Chris Paul, I think Russell Westbrook is capable of playing with a lot more tempo than an offense with CP3 and James Harden is capable of doing. So when he comes back healthy, I think that this team offensively is going to be a juggernaut in the regular season. And it's going to be a regular season where they feast on the bottom dwellers in the Western Conference, Eastern Conference teams, all of those things. My concern for the Rockets is when they get to the postseason and they're in a 7-game series against teams that are actually decent clubs. What are they going to do once they get there? That's the biggest question for me. At some point, you have to be able to stop somebody defensively. Right now, opposing teams are shooting 49% from the field against the Rockets. That ain't going to get it done when you're trying to win a championship.
That was my question. Are you guys worried about their defense where it is right now?
You're always worried about their defense. Like, let's just take the South Beach flu from Sunday out of it. They spent a Saturday night in Miami. Like, that's just a schedule loss. You know, you're down by 40 points in the middle of the second quarter. Like, you just call that what it is. But Harden has improved as a defender, at least of being a willing defender. Russell Westbrook is going to try to get every rebound to get up and down the floor. But from a schematic standpoint, I don't trust them. Tyson Chandler may be getting them 2 or 3 years too late. Clint Capella is still the same player with the same holes that he had. And P.J. Tucker can't guard everybody on the wings. This is a wing league. And let's say you play the Clippers in the playoff series. Okay, he can guard Kawhi Leonard, but who's going to guard Paul George? And Mike D'Antoni, you've seen this. I trust people who've done this before. James Harden is shooting 25% from 3, and so is Russ. One of those percentages is going to stay the same. And I don't know if they have enough defense and enough shooting, because Eric Gordon hasn't shown up yet this season, for me to say they're going to be a serious contender. Whether they win 60 games, 55 games, whatever the case may be, you've got to show me a team that they're better than for 7 games defensively, Nick.
Well, hold on. No, they don't have to be better than the team defensively if the offense is so much better. Now, they have to be better than 28th in the league defensively. They can't be. You can't be a bottom 5 defense in basketball and compete for a championship. In fact, historically, aside from Shaq's Lakers, you had to be a top 10 defense to compete for a championship.
That Cleveland team that won a champion or got to the finals a couple years ago was bottom 10, but that was, in your opinion, the best player of all time.
You have the best player of all time, and then they got crushed in the finals. But you know what I mean?
Allegedly.
But you're not talking about the year they won the title.
Yeah,
you're talking about they end up getting crushed in the finals, in part because the defense couldn't show up. But sometimes we do overthink things, and here's where I'm at on this. The last few years, the Rockets have been unable to get through one team, Golden State. That team doesn't exist anymore. Additionally, they are better than they were the last few years because Russell Westbrook is better than Chris Paul. I can't, at this point in his career, Chris Paul. The last couple years of his career, Chris Paul. Not vintage New Orleans Pelican.
Are we sure about that?
I am sure.
Are we sure that the bill on Russell Westbrook's knees and that surgery that he's having, he think he had 3 surgeries in the span of 9 months, and he's in his 11th year. At some point, though, that bill becomes due.
Yeah,
but I will say this: Russell Westbrook can play a lot faster right now than Chris Paul is capable of playing.
Okay, I agree with that, but in playoff basketball, and I think in the regular season that can work, but in the playoffs, even though Chris Paul has had his struggles, he still played with a certain amount of control. And when you're playing that position of point guard, you're handling the ball, and you have to value your possessions late in games. We know LeBron is going to value those possessions. We know that Kawhi Leonard has evolved into a playmaker. He's going to value those possessions. Is Russell Westbrook and his style of play going to value possessions combined with their defense enough for you to say, I trust them to beat those 2 teams? They're a second-round team. I don't know if they're a conference finals team.
The reason, so we're all in agreement on the Lakers, but the reason everyone's just assigning the Clippers a level of greatness I don't see yet. Listen, Kawhi has been sensational in the 4th quarter when he's not taking games off, and he's been, now, by the way, if people care about these things, it's shocking how this happens. Kawhi, because he has taken on a playmaker role, because he does have to be that team's offense, his defense is not what it once was. By the way, that's how it works for everybody. Once you have to give full effort on the offensive end, your defense lags a little bit. Everyone just says, oh, Kawhi and Paul George are going to fit together seamlessly. That team's going to be awesome. Paul George had surgery on both shoulders. Who did that ever hurt? Let me just see it. Let me see them be. We've seen the Lakers now. They're awesome. We know the Rockets' offense can score 160 in a game. We know what Milwaukee and Philly is. Let me just see the Clippers.
The Lakers have holes, too. How can you ascribe when their when point guard play, and LeBron can't play point guard for an extended stretch of time? And LeBron will be 35, and as someone who's turning 35 in a month or so, you feel it.
Yeah, I don't think LeBron's aging the way you and I are.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.